this week I saw The Space Between Us, and I wrote cheesy and cringe about a dozen times on my notes, so you can tell how this is going to go. The film stars Asa Butterfield, Britt Robertsons, Carla Gugino, which we had a discussion about, that it's spelled that way, and Gary Oldman. And the premise of the film is that they send the first group of astronauts to colonize Mars. And just so everyone knows, this film apparently takes place in 2018, so we have that to look forward to next year, apparently.
We may be going, we may all want to run
I
there.
was going to say, I don't want to live on this planet anymore, so that's fine. They only send one female astronaut and 5 male astronauts, which, what? Like, why can't you send more female astronauts? But of course, the female astronaut has to be pregnant. I don't think that's really a spoiler because I feel like it's in the trailers.
Okay, so that's 2, maybe, potentially 2 women. If she has a girl.
So she has a boy. She has a boy. But yeah, it turns out she's pregnant and shouldn't be. So basically the first part of the film is slut shaming, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on air, but it is shaming this woman for being pregnant. And I would like to point out that 1, that's not okay, and 2, it takes 2 to tango here.
Yep.
This wasn't the Immaculate Conception, but there's no mention of, who's the father? How dare he? What, responsibilities, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is the path we're starting out on. Again, so this might be kind of spoilers, but she makes it to Mars and then she dies immediately in childbirth. Oh. And so they decide to cover up the existence of a child on Mars. So fast forward 16 years later, the kid's going stir crazy on Mars because he's a teenager and he's the only teenager there, and I can't imagine how he spends his time. I can't imagine, unfortunately, but there's some jokes about that, which were actually pretty good. Also, because his gestation took place in zero gravity, apparently he's got medical issues that would prevent him from surviving on Earth. So naturally, what are we going to do? Let's send him to Earth. So there's this whole plot about how he has this lady pen pal because he's a super genius raised by scientists, so he's able to hack all their systems, and so he has this just random pen pal or digital video pal that they don't explain at all how they met. They just have this video conference constantly going. So they take him to Earth, he escapes, and an awkward teenage romance ensues. This film has so many science and logic flaws, and I love sci-fi. And my sister, every time this trailer came on, my younger sister would be like, I don't understand how they would waste so much money going to Mars. And I kept being like, no, I'm sure they're going to explain this somehow. It takes place in the future. Space travel must be less expensive. Something. Nope. Just constantly sending people back and forth from Mars. Just no logic to it. So congrats to my sister. She was right. There were no explanations for any of the logic. Also, great news. Apparently, iPhones don't evolve at all in the year 2034 because everyone's running around. They have all these futuristic keyboards and tablets, and they hack into a BMW and all this stuff. And there's a freaking colony on Mars, but everyone's running around with iPhone 7s and the earbuds.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Those must be, everyone buy those now because those must be a great investment if they're going to survive into 2034 like that. Anyway, so I went to this film wanting just kind of like a cheesy distraction from the world, and cheesy is definitely what I got. Asa Butterfield, you might know him from Ender's Game, and he keeps getting cast in these sort of awkward teen romance, cute, naive roles. And he's sweet. And I think some of the best parts of the film are his because there's this whole okay, well, it's his first time on Earth. What does he do? And it's cute kind of discovering well, how do you interact with people who aren't scientists on a Mars colony? All right, there's some humor there. But I have to ask, I don't understand. Do tweens love him or something? He's very sweet and he's actually a decent actor, but I'm not 100% sure why they keep casting him in this, but there's clearly an appeal there. It was also a little weird being an adult at this movie because it's a teen storyline. The science part isn't sciencey enough for the nerds. So I was like, this is a little uncomfortable. I'm just going to spoil this. There's a really awkward, he goes from having his first kiss to his first
whoa.
within one scene.
How old is the kid? He looks like he's 13.
The actor's 19. The character's supposed to be 16.
Okay.
But I was just okay, so there's no logic here either. Hey, this kid's got more game than anyone on Earth. Literally.
Yeah.
Apparently we should all go to Mars. Anyway. So if you're really desperate to see something this weekend, because most of the other movies out this weekend are really scary movies or horror films, sure, go ahead and see this. Just know that there's no rhyme or reason or logic, and the morality of a lot of it was really questionable, and everyone's motives were very questionable. It's well, I'm out here I'm looking out for the kid, and I'm doing this, and everyone. But you're no, you're not. At the end of the day, it was just melodramatic, and it was a teen drama. So I'd love to know how teens react to this because I am not one, and I can't speak to that. But if you are an adult and you are considering seeing this, I'm only going to give it 2.6. Make of that what you will.